Hello, it's week 7 of the Just a Thought book group, and this week we've been reading chapters 18 and 19. So talking about minds dramatising in chapter 19 and minds thinking we're never good enough in chapter 18. I'm going to share a bit today from chapter 19. Amy starts it by talking about her daughter being in youth theatre, and how everything's very dramatic, how everything's a bit over the top, like the makeup's really big and the lights are really bright and the way they act is really overacting, and saying essentially that's what our mind does, sometimes with greater flair than others for sure. But she says, and the thing that I'm going to talk about today is at the top of page 119, she says, "It's a brought to life, real as can be experienced. It's virtual reality that doesn't appear virtual." And that's what I really want to focus in on today, because I remember years ago being at a conference, barefoot coaching conference, and one of the speakers invited us to bring to mind a really awful experience, or something with somebody who we really didn't like, or somebody who we had a bad relationship with, or somebody we'd had an argument with, just anything that had happened relatively recently, didn't have to be, but relatively recently, that we could call to mind and sort of bring that experience back to life again. And of course, in doing so, and you can do this right now as with this video, but in doing that, it created that whole feeling system that went with the experience. Just imagining sitting very comfortably in a conference room and just imagining that interaction with that person, suddenly there was all the feelings that came with it. And so yeah, maybe do that now. Just take a moment, think of something that is like that for you. Think of somebody that you've perhaps had a difficult interaction with recently, somebody you've argued with, somebody who's annoying you. Just call that experience to mind and notice what happens in your body. Notice how the stories of the mind start running, all its narrative about them and what they've done and why they shouldn't have done. Notice, whatever's going on in your body, where you're feeling that, all that angst and irritation, and it really doesn't feel good, does it? And now let's flip it then, which again, this lady at this conference did do this. She said, let's balance that out with something more positive. So think of something recently that's gone really beautifully, something that's gone amazingly well, or just a beautiful moment with another person. Think of that moment now and notice what happens in your experience. So maybe you felt those good feelings coming back. Maybe your cheeks have just flushed, but with a really lovely, excited flush. Maybe you just feel all warm and fuzzy. But notice how all of that has happened while sitting or standing or walking or wherever you are, whatever you're doing right now. Notice how you've just created two completely different realities, two completely different feeling states, all from the comfort of wherever you are right now. Those things weren't actually happening, but how real did they feel in this moment? Now we've taken the realness of that feeling to mean it must be true. It must be a real problem. And what I'm going to suggest is that you consider that realness isn't telling you anything about the realness of the problem. It's only ever showing you how amazing this virtual reality system is, and that whatever we believe will come to life in that way. And start to consider excuse me, hopefully not COVID, with COVID daughter upstairs. Anyway, just consider that that's what's been happening your whole life, every time anything's looked terrible, equally whenever anything's looked amazing. You're not necessarily experiencing life as it is. You're experiencing whatever's being believed about it in that moment, brought to life, made to feel real in this moment, irrespective of what's actually happening in the world around you. Tell me what you've noticed from this. I would really love to hear from you. And see you next week. Thank you. Bye.